Hello, it is Jay with another vocal study video where I pick a video from YouTube that is hopefully going to help me with my speaking skills. I've been doing a lot of Darren McStay, and hey, I found somebody else to talk, someone else to listen to and to report back on. This is from communication coach Alex Lyon, and it's much more presentation. It's how to practice a speech or presentation. This is actually the third of a variety of speeches. One is the first one is the value of public speaking, in which he does quote Warren Buffett, so you do know he's coming from sort of a business side and a bro dude side, where Warren Buffett is the be all and end all, though the quote is pretty good because it talks about, I think it says, oh, you improve your worth by 50% if you can be a effective communicator. You'll talking about, oh, you'll get if you can present yourself well in a situation, talking about whatever your job is, whatever that happens to be, you're more likely to be seen as leadership potential because you can talk, because you can communicate, which I suppose has its points. For me, I'm just looking at trying to be a better presenter for talking about the books, about doing stuff on video. Whether this will lead to fame and riches, we all know the answer to that question. So in the second video that he does, he talks about, like, how to improve. And the main one is how do you prepare for your speech? The people who actually prepare for their speeches, for the 99% of people, are the ones who are actually going to come across much better than somebody who just kind of gets up and wings it. Though we have a lot of people on BookTube and YouTube in general who are good wingers. Though I would probably argue that the people who are upper echelon, making one video a month and have a bazillion subscribers, are obviously people who are doing a ton of preparation for their videos. But if you're low level, you can talk off the cuff and be fine. That said, I know with myself, preparation for my presentations is a good thing. So I may not go into it as much as what Alex Lyon talks about here, but there's a good version of this that I might. So that said, let's get into his 5 tips, five things for how to practice a speech or presentation. Number 1 is practice from an outline, and a very bare bones outline. He says you take whatever notes you have, and as you're practicing, cut those notes down to the very barest notes, like just maybe a single word or a single phrase. So you're not continually looking down at the piece of paper to memorize. You're not memorizing what comes next. And indeed, he says, probably try and make a practice of, as you're doing your practice, to try and say it in different ways each time. That way it is actually you talking to your audience, to the camera in my case, but to your audience. You're not reading prepared words. You've got a little note there that says, oh, take notes, cut them down, and you know what that means, and then you can just talk on that subject until you need to get to the next subject, which maybe you'll have you can skip down to the next one. But and I can see that it's like, I oftentimes at the beginning I have a whole ton of notes, and I am actually doing that of like, okay, how can I cut that down, and probably even cut that down even further as I go along. I think that's a really good idea, and you're internalizing it as you're cutting it down. So you're taking your notes, you're getting them into your head, and through the repetition you're getting a muscle memory for it, which brings us on to number 2, which is try and spread out your practice of a presentation over time. And he says, like, at least sort of something like 3 days, where it's good because you've got 3 full days of doing it. So you've got time. You're not like doing this kind of rushing thing. You're doing the repetition of, oh, I did it each and every day. I repeated what I said. So you get the kind of the muscle memory. And you also give your unconscious mind time to sort of think about things. So you can be, you know, brushing your teeth on day 2 and go, oh, I could say something about this way instead of that way. So you're living with the material, and you're allowing your unconscious mind to kind of hook into it as well. So it's really, really integrated in there. Using your bare bones outline as a kind of a guide to take you through the speech, and then have the time to just let it sink into you. Number 3, which kind of pairs with number 2, is to focus on just 1 or 2 improvements in each practice session. If you try and do everything all at once, it's just going to kind of blow up in your space. But, you know, say it's like try and focus so you can focus on 1 or 2 things per. So like maybe structure, or okay, how much am I looking down? Like, do I need to, you know, am I having to, do I need to repeat facts in my head so I don't have to refer to my notes continually? It's there. Or your posture, or your gestures. Examine how you're doing well that way. That's probably where me filming myself comes in handy, of checking like, oh, okay, here's my presentation. Okay, how was my posture? How was my physical presentation? So you break it down into each different segments, different aspects of your presentation on each try, and you're not overwhelming yourself, and also you're giving yourself you give yourself a focal point of like, oh, I'm working on this particular thing, and you let your concentration really focus on that bit. Maybe the other stuff will get a little wobbly, but because you're focusing on this. But then when you do it the whole presentation and you're doing everything, you're not focusing on, oh God, am I doing this wrong? It's like, no, you already addressed that in a practice session. You can now just do your whole presentation however well you've integrated whatever you're trying to do. Like you've lifted it up a bit, but you haven't allowed it to obsess you and suck you down into the rest of the stuff. Number 4 is to keep your practice sessions realistic. This might not appeal to me, but this might not apply to me, but it is the idea that if you're in front of a group, you're not going to ever have ideal conditions. People are going to come in late. Somebody's going to suddenly be doing something in the background. Somebody's going to be mowing the lawn. If you practice in utter silence, and you're able to, you know, in utter silence, then you're setting your brain up to like, oh, if there's any interruptions or any distractions, that'll completely throw you off in the real moment. So he recommends that maybe in your practice sessions, you have music going in the background, you have whatever various like little distractions that you have. To a degree that applies. I mean, for myself, my own purposes, I've just got the camera here in my office, so it's a fairly shut kind of thing. I've got little Theo down there. Little Theo could suddenly wake up in the middle of a presentation, and, you know, just have to handle it. So, but it's a good point. It's a good point of don't make yourself a perfect presenter as long as things are perfect, because things are never going to be perfect. And his fifth tip is to visualize the first 30 seconds of your presentation and the last 30 seconds of your presentation. So, you know, your opener and your closer, which I know for myself, the opener can be very stressful for me. I'm trying to get a lot of information in. So that is actually not a bad thing, of really focusing on that first 30 seconds and just visualizing, okay, it's going to go like this, it's going to go like this, it's going to go like this, just to help kind of build that memory. Also, doing the practice sessions is another way of trying to kind of ingrain that in, but also just visualizing it. Not just doing, both. Well, you're both doing and visualizing is probably a key thing. And then having some idea, it's like, okay, what is the final point? What is the kernel? To take it from another study video, what's the kernel of this video about? Where am I trying to take people, and what does that end point look like? And okay, this is what I'm going to say at this end point, where I've hopefully carried people to this point, and this is what the message I want to impart, or how I want them to feel at the end. So yeah, that was a fairly I think fairly useful video for me. I don't know how much practice I'm going to get. I do know I do prep where I'm usually prepping. I try and prep the day before and oftentimes I don't get the presentation done the next day. It often is the day after that. So I might actually be getting close to a 3-day practicing over 3 sessions, though that would also include me honing the outline. I think there's things that I can work I can work even before I finished what I want to talk about. I can already start kind of generating all the notes for it, things like that. I think probably trying to work on getting notes, getting bare bones, getting impressions out, even before I'm at the, oh, I'm going to make the outline, is try and start gathering that stuff together so that I can give myself the time to practice. And I mean, there's also the thing of, a lot of times if I finish a book, I don't need to immediately put down the book and start talking. It's one of those things, I can let it kind of percolate in my mind over a couple of days. I have no deadline, and I can start amassing notes and just go from there. Just like, okay, here's my first notes after just having read it. Okay, now let me add this and this. Okay, now let me add this. Oh, let me go back and listen to some of my my video updates on it. Oh, I should add that, this, that, and until I've got like a mass of notes and I can sort of see the theme, the kernel that is there, and then launch into making the outline for the video. So yeah, I think this is a useful video for me. It's good to get myself out of simply thinking about how my verbal skills are, the ums and ahs video, that sort of thing. This is still a part of the ums and ahs project, believe it or not. It's all about how to present, and a part of how to present is having an outline, how to practice that outline, how to focusing on improvement, 1 or 2 improvements in each session is a really good tip, I think, for me, because it can get sort of overwhelming. I mean, a part of that is I've been focusing very laser focus on trying to kind of cut down on my ums and ahs, but there's many other things there's countless things. That's why it's such a kind of a fun little project for myself. There are countless little ways that I can improve, that I have so much room for improvement in. So yeah, I'm glad. I'm going to subscribe to communication coach Alex Lyon. That is the name of his channel. And we'll see if he's too business bro-y dude. There may not be as much material for me, but I should try and build up a library on this particular set of subscriptions. I'm like, oh, okay, that would be that's some more interesting facts, and I should try and as much as I really like Darren McStay, I should try and diversify and have other voices in my talking to me about how I could improve. All right, I've been Jay. More videos later.